Okay, so let's pick this back up. Tori's back. Welcome back.
Hi.
So let's talk about dating a little bit. So it's
not much to say.
So,
but it is.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of bullshit to say, girl.
This is true. Okay.
See,
not much, but then it's like we can go all night about this area. Do you have enough time?
Yeah, I got plenty of time.
But then
we really want to go all night.
It's not like being a guy because it's so much easier for us.
It is.
Okay, so so dating abroad, you guys have it's coming from two different angles for you, women as women of color and as Americans. So something that a lot of people refuse to acknowledge, especially a lot of my white followers or friends, they refuse to acknowledge that culturally, in Thailand, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in certain areas, it's acceptable to date somebody or marry them for money. That's an acceptable thing here. And it's also some form of fetishization of whiteness, of being a white Westerner.
Yeah, for sure.
So for you all,
Totally.
are you being approached by Thai men or Indonesian or Japanese men when you're here? For you, when you lived in London, by British men? And if so, do you guys feel like that's coming because you're just black and they kind of want to experience that, or is it because they actually genuinely like want to get at you, or does it even matter?
Well, you know what? We had this conversation like 2 days ago. At the end of the day, like I feel like everybody really at the end of the day likes black women.
Yeah.
Now, whether you want to be public about it because of the fact that there's all these stereotypes, that's a different story.
That's an interesting thing.
Seriously,
no, for real.
I think what a lot of people have told me that Thai men are really shy, so they would never really approach.
That's a lie. I mean, no. I'm not talking about approaching, but I'm saying that they will flirt. Now, that's one thing I will say.
Make little noises when you walk by.
And that's why I am led to believe.
They won't be direct.
They won't be direct, but I am led to believe that like people like black women. Like it's not really like.
I think people like black people. I think global.
Okay, but we're talking about women.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we're gonna leave the men out of this. Because just stepping in Thailand as a foreign man, you already have an advantage. So we ain't even gonna talk about black men, okay? So don't even, because you step out of here and it's we already know how
we're on the right street for that.
Exactly. Literally go down a couple blocks. So. Yeah, but I do feel like when I'm walking down the street, because you know, I strut these streets, you know, I strut the streets, and I definitely
I gotta go.
What you doing out here?
No, don't start, because see, that's another thing that we have to deal with.
Yeah,
really. Another thing we have to deal with.
I had, it's funny.
Yes.
The people, and it was interesting. It's interesting because you guys live here, so you can co-sign or tell me I'm full of shit.
Okay.
So I met two sisters in Malaysia, and they were asking, why does everybody think they're prostitutes? Like out here, and I'm like, well. The unfortunate truth is that a lot of African women here are prostitutes. And they did not believe me. They thought I was full of shit. And I was like, look, I'll show you. So I literally took them. We got off at the BTS at Asok. And we walked down to Plon Cheat. And I told them, I guarantee you, before we started walking, we're going to run into at least 50 African hookers between this stretch. And what's that, a 20-minute walk, maybe?
Yeah.
And walking, and this was before the cleanup, before immigration started cleaning up.
Okay.
Because reason right now it's
not that
bad right now. Because, but that's because the government targeted.
Yeah. Right, they did for sure.
But at the time that we went, it was a good 50. A good 50,
I can
60.
see that. I can see
and not only that, but African men selling drugs.
Yeah.
And again, I know a lot of these guys. So it's interesting because you guys have to deal with that perspective. Do you get proposition at the clubs here? Like, do guys approach you that way?
As a prostitute?
Yeah.
No, I've never been approached in a way that's like, I want to exchange, a service for money.
Yeah.
No, not like that.
I have heard the stories of people being like people saying like under their breath how much, but not like directly at a person. But see, here's another thing that people don't talk about often is that not only are we getting that from like outside of black people, but the tension between Africans and American women.
We
don't talk about that enough.
Like, yo,
it is
a lot of tension.
No play.
I have gotten a lot of like shit from from African women, and I'm like,
I didn't do anything to you.
They don't even mess with us as men. They don't even date us as American men.
Well,
we
African
can't
guys
date
don't have a problem.
Oh well, the African guys. I mean,
So you say like if you want to date an African woman,
it's not
okay. I can see that. I can see that
several times.
They just look, and you know. It's like, I don't want to sound like I don't understand, because at the end of the day, we don't know exactly what that feels like, but at the same time, it's like, we really can't control how our situation ended up being. So, like, I've been in the clubs, and literally, I think I told both y'all the story before, like, I'm in the bathroom at a club, literally, and the girl was just like, hey, how are you? You know, because some of them are friendly, and I'm friendly, so I was like, oh, I'm good. And she's like, do you like Thailand? Do you live here? I was like, yeah, I live here. I like it. I love Thailand. Like, at this point, when I first got here, I was like literally in love with Thailand. I mean, I still love it, but I was like going around talking about it. So, I was like, yeah, I love it. So now I go to the toilet, and then my friend comes in, and she goes to the toilet, and like, she was having a very bad experience. And so the conversation did not go the same. And my friend was like, no, I hate it. Like, I don't like it. I'm moving soon. She had literally decided like a few hours before that moment that I am moving. Like, I'm getting my ticket, I'm moving. And the African woman just went off. And when I say off, like, she was like arguing to the point that she made herself so like emotional about it that she started crying. And she was like literally just like sitting there like almost like reprimanding my friend for being like, you know, you don't understand, you guys have all this privilege, like, we have to come over here because we have to survive.
And a lot of us don't get that.
I don't have to get it because, like you said, we can't control that.
Right. There's no reason to attack us. Also, we have to understand the perspective when you're speaking to somebody.
I agree.
And this is something that I see when we're having a discussion about poverty. And when an American is talking about poverty versus when a Cambodian is talking about poverty. Let's go even closer. Let's say Haiti. When a Haitian person is talking about poverty versus somebody from even Detroit or Cleveland or Indiana, like wherever. I'm like, yo, and I think that's something that people don't recognize when it comes to us, expats or frequent travelers. That is something that we have to navigate. Because when you have these conversations with other people of color who might not be from the States, you have to understand where they're coming from. Botswana, Nigeria, Kenya, Ivory Coast. Like it's a real conversation.
I agree.
But have you guys found it from a personal standpoint? It been difficult to date here in general, or to build those interpersonal, those romantic relationships with anybody in the expat community or anybody who's a local?
Hell yeah! Oh goodness.
I stay out of it. I stay away from.
But like I've talked to you about plenty, it's like we talk about all the time. The black community here is really, really small.
Right.
We all have 2 degrees of separation.
But see, another thing is, notice what you said, the black community. It depends on if a black woman dates outside of the black community. Then you're gonna have a different experience.
Yep. And see, for me, I only date within the black community. So
and I find and it's interesting you bring that up. Because I'm curious why, like because if you stepped out, okay, and we're gonna get deep here. We're gonna go Ebony Magazine right now, okay?
Come on.
So a lot of sisters get on me because they assume I only date non-black women, and my defense is like, fuck, there's not black women around, and when I am around sisters, it shouldn't be assumed that I just want to date.
Right.
Just because you're black. And I think that's a disservice to me and you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But why is it that so many sisters, because brothers never give other brothers shade for dating outside of our race. Why is it that sisters give brothers shades or other sisters shade for dating outside of your race, and so many are like, no, I'm only dating black men, that's it?
I mean, for me, I've only been like, I really just like black men. You know, I like everything about them, so I just don't want Oh, I can't say that.
But could you ever see yourself in a position where, for example, you live in a place where there's no black man? Could you see yourself dating somebody who's not black?
I don't know, because for me, I just feel like they would not really be able to understand who I am at the core. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't. I personally feel like they would not be able to understand my struggles as a black person.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to be able to relate on certain things. Mm-hmm. If I'm complaining about Susie Racism. And Jackie Q or whatever at work, and I'm like, they said this about XYZ, they're not going to understand what I mean by that. Right. So, no, I don't see that.
But see, I want to take a step back, Ari, because all she said was, I don't date outside of the black community. And your question became, why is it that sisters give other sisters and black men a hard time? Just because she's saying that she doesn't date outside of
But no, I was just speaking to my experience.
No, I know, but I'm saying that I feel that often that is like a narrative that black women get just because they
like the
don't.
Angry black woman.
Yeah, the angry black woman. It's like just because somebody else chooses to not date.
But do you think it's unwarranted? It's an unwarranted label.
Yeah, I mean, I get. So here's my thing. Like even within okay, we have a friend here that does date outside of the black community, and this conversation kind of comes up a lot because we'll be at dinner and stuff, and like she'll be telling her stories, and people like, how you date? How you going on 5 dates a night? You know what I mean? And then and then someone that doesn't know this person will say like, so do you date like outside of the black community? You know, stuff like that, and then that conversation comes up. So sometimes it's like I feel like we kind of do like. Even like women ourselves, like it becomes a conversation where it's like we're trying to say like, girl, how in the hell are you dating? Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like we already kind of within ourselves, like women kind of pin it on ourselves. But we just said this on Elevator. Nobody really cares who you're dating. I don't give a damn who you sleeping with because I am.
Do your thing.
I don't care.
Because I'm going to do whatever I want. Exactly. And I don't want anybody else to care about what
at the root of it, nobody really cares.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Okay. So in your experience, has it been difficult to make those deep personal connections? Not even romantically, but just personal connections like with a best friend or somebody who you can confide in.
As far as like a guy?
Like a guy, woman, whatever. Just in general, friend to find. Not even romantically. Having somebody, like when you're having a shitty day or just has it been difficult to find somebody to confide in?
I think so. I mean, Tori.
Even with London, when you were living in London as well.
I agree. Surface level for sure.
I mean, Tori and I, we talk about a lot of stuff every day, all the time.
Every day, yeah.
But like in general, like I don't have like a group of friends here, like how I do at home.
Right.
You know, like you said, a lot of it is just really surface level.
It is.
Because I think a lot of people come out here and they put on this front like they are more than what they really are. They're doing more than what they really do. And they try to portray like this certain lifestyle. And I'm just kind of like, you're not really doing all that. And if you hang around them more, you can see, and that kind of pushes you away. And it doesn't make you want to be around them. And it doesn't make you want to build a friendship with them.
So I do feel like it's surface level for like different reasons, right? So we're all traveling, and the average expat doesn't know how long they're even planning to be in the country. Right. So it's like you kind of off top don't allow yourself to be as vulnerable when you're building relationships because you don't want to like go through the whole feeling of like getting this big like friendship and deep friendship and then like you have to say bye because it's like even right now everybody is like moving and there's like a lot of like ebbs and flows that happen because people like come into the country moving or they're leaving, and so that's part of it. But also like I think that it's a lot of the relationships that are built overseas, we probably wouldn't have built back home. Yeah. Like if I had met some people that I
know that for a fact.
That I talked to here, I wouldn't have even approached them at all. Yeah. They wouldn't even be in my friend list. You wouldn't even be on my Facebook list. You know what I'm saying?
But do you think that's a positive or a negative?
I think that's a positive. I was going to say this earlier. Is that like I feel like one of the benefits for me living overseas is like I meet people from like so many other countries and like that are different walks of life that I would ever meet in home, because everybody's almost the same damn way.
Yeah, I mean, and it gives you connections literally forever, all around the world.
Yeah,
I agree.
Excellent.
But I also feel like the whole thing about finding people that can relate to you, that's why it is important when we have like these black groups and like we're having Sunday brunches and things like that, because when you sit and have those conversations and you gonna have margaritas with we just had margaritas on Sunday night. We just did and that it may not be the like when you leave there you're gonna have those same like texting them all day like you would a friend back home, but in that moment you have that safe space.
It's like going to a dope reggae club, like
like you just like you're able to chill, you're able to relax and actually like you do get those moments where you do have those friends that you really can like
okay.
And it's deeper conversations.
Now, do you believe it's important for young women of color to travel abroad?
Yes,
absolutely.
Well, why? Sure. Why do you feel that way? I feel that way for young brothers, but
because I think a lot of people that stay in their hometowns or just like in surrounding areas, you're not exposed to anything else. So all you know is what you've only been knowing forever, and there's so much more to see. And like I spoke on earlier, I've grown so much over this past year. There's so much growing that you can do that you might not ever do if you never get out of your comfort zone.
Right.
And when I say travel, I'm not trying to be funny, but these trips to Jamaica, Bahamas,
Miami,
Aruba, Vegas, Miami, LA, that is not the same.
Don't be a travel snob.
And I'm not trying to say that. And I don't know what kind of connections you have, but I'm sorry, but I feel like even like these things like Travel Noir and all these things, we're almost creating like that, like that's what you need to be doing. Like international travel.
I think
go to an island.
I think you're right, and to a certain extent. But here's why I push back against this narrative, because I've spoken out about things like Travel Noir, Nomad Travel Tribe, I'm Black and I Travel, stuff like this, because at times I love what they're doing, but at times I push back on them because it creates an elitist.
Yes, there it is.
It's like, well, how many passport stamps do you have?
Yes, and that's not what it's all about. It's not about going to get the best photos flying at an island or a palm tree. That's not it.
Because you gotta remember, I came up in the military, and the great thing about being a black man in the military is black men have always been in the military for the most part since forever, and we have kind of this community where we look out for each other. My first sergeant was a brother who took me under his wing and taught me a lot. And part of what he taught me was that as a black man, you have a freedom to define who you are, no matter where you're going, no matter what you're doing, and you don't have to ask anybody permission. I think a lot of times we get people in our community, which is why these travel groups have gotten so big, these organized trips have gotten so popular, is that we get validation from each other. And we always look for that validation amongst ourselves because we're constantly kicked and beaten down systemically.
Right.
So I think if the only way that somebody can travel or feel comfortable with traveling, especially a black woman, because you guys are extremely vulnerable as women, as marginalized minorities, if the only way that you can travel is to go with 17 of your homegirls to Jamaica, I'm like, get it, sister.
Okay. Yeah.
However,
yes, for sure. I agree with that.
But I think, to your point, I think it is extremely important for people to get out of those curated, safe, organized, structured spaces where you literally took the black folks from Cleveland and put them on an island. And they're doing the same thing on the island that they would be doing back home on a Friday
and then they
Saturday.
Go home in 2 weeks.
And then they go home
it's not the same experience.
And you're not on
Final question for both of you. What advice would you give anybody, young, old, male, female, who says, I want to live overseas? What is two pieces of advice that you would give them?
I think the first thing that I would say is be open.
I was just going to say
because if you are not, then you are going to be miserable. You're going to be miserable. Because this is not home. Like, and especially all the way out here.
At home, it's like, no, nobody cares what it's like at home.
So I think being open, one, two, do your research.
Yeah.
And if you want to move, depending on where it's at, maybe visit the place first.
Okay.
Yeah. Say that.
See, I hadn't even traveled overseas outside of like Canada before I moved here. So for me, I think like the major thing is being open. Like definitely be open. Be ready to learn. Be ready to experience that.
And adjust.
Be adaptable.
Flexible.
Flexible. Yeah. That is like the major thing. And then the other thing is like, don't come here or anywhere and kind of like get stuck or get into your regular routine. Go out and meet people. And I think that oftentimes like people are so used to just like their routine or it's like
I see it all the time.
Yeah,
like do different things. Like you are out here to experience something different. Something new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sabrina, Tori. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yeah,
We've been trying to put this together for a while.
I know. This is
it's like a few days before
I can't believe you're leaving. I know.
I want to do some more now.
I know. We can talk about this because I have like ideas and stuff.
But it's thank you so much. It's so rare to get two sisters to be open like this on camera and answer questions and stuff like that. So if you guys have any questions, as usual, leave the comments below. I'll tag you guys.
Yeah, hit me up. Tori Talks. Pretty much on everything.
BOIETT.
I'll tag you. Have a little graphic and everything.
Exactly. There you go.
So as usual, guys, lead the world better than you found it. I will see you guys next time.